Okay, so today we're going to be talking about another tool, which is electrical tape. No, we're not going to talk about electrical tape. We're going to talk about something that is a little bit better than electrical tape that I like to use. This is kind of a double whammy. So these are heat shrinks. Heat shrink tubing is definitely much better than electrical tape, but usually for doing heat shrink tubing, there's a couple of different ways that you actually shrink this. So you can use a cigarette lighter is what a lot of people use, but I have a much better tool, which is this guy. So this is kind of like a little heat gun. So it's a hot air gun, but it is specifically for doing heat shrink. So I've got a couple of pieces of wire here that I've already soldered together. So what do? I'm going to take my heat shrink tubing. I'm going to position it right over the middle of that, and then it has two settings. This particular one has two settings. So I'm going to hit the low, and I'm just going to hold it on there. I'm a little impatient, so I'm going to kick it into high. And you can see, super easy for getting that heat shrink tubing nice and on there. Another common one that gets done is this thing where you have the two wires that are joined. So I'm just gonna push this right on like that and kick it on high because I'm impatient. And there you go, nice little heat shrinked wire connection. So of course I have heat shrink tubing in black. Usually I get them cut to these smaller lengths because you can buy them in bulk and cut them yourself, but you know, who has time for that? So I know the next thing you're going to be saying to me is, but Richard, what if I've got some colored wire and I want to be able to keep the colored wire? So let's get rid of those guys. And this is one that I've soldered together that I usually use for NeoPixels. And I want colors, but you know, you have these colors, and these are the colors that you could use for electrical tape, but that's nonsense. So what I do is I just get my heat shrink tubing pre-cut in all of these colors, and these are specifically very small sections of heat shrink tubing in all the different colors that I'm going to use for my wires. So I can just place those on each one of my colored wires, and I'm going to get them all over my solder joints up here. They are a little crowded, and now I am just going to heat that up. Heat that up. And there we go. Nice little heat shrink tubing to cover my solder joint. And you can see it's all the same color. If I want to keep those wires together, I can go ahead and stick all of my wires through another piece of heat shrink tubing. And now I can make a nice wiring harness that stays together, although I don't think that needs to be shrunk anymore. So that's kind of the double whammy for today with our tools. So we got heat shrink tubing in multiple colors and pre-cut. If you're doing a lot of wiring harnesses and wiring work, I recommend getting it in pre-cut. It is a little cheaper to buy it in bulk and get just the long strings, but it's really kind of a pain to chop them up. And I love this because whenever I need heat shrink, I just grab a little section of heat shrink tubing and it works just fine. And then this one is definitely, you are going to want this guy. I do have 2 of these. This is the nicer one that I got, and of course I have my name on it and the color that I have wrapped around all my tools. But this thing is super worth it. It's way better than using a cigarette lighter. It's way better than using a hot air gun. But also remember, this is not a traditional hot air gun, so do not use this like you would a regular hot air gun. This does have less power because it's specifically for doing these heat shrinks. So that's the tool for the day. Thanks for watching. I'll post where you can get this tool down in the links below, and like and subscribe if you want to see more of these videos.